Hey my friends, welcome back to a new video. Today we'll be talking about the upcoming full moon that is coming up tomorrow, December 7th, in the zodiac sign of Gemini. I want to give you a quick intuitive update and I will explain how I'm feeling these days and what kind of energy I'm feeling, and we'll see if you can relate, if you may experience something similar and everything that's going on, just to see if we can relate on that vibrational level. To everyone who's more sensitive to the energies right now, let's see. So firstly, this full moon is kind of special because it's the last one of this year, which reminds us of the completion of the cycles of this year. And because of this zodiac sign, Gemini is reminding us of twins, right? Like two aspects of us, the main pillars of ourselves. And when we're talking about the main aspects of us, we're talking about the true self and the character, the mask we are wearing. And there's nothing wrong with the character. I often say that to you. There's nothing wrong with the mask as long as it is as pure as possible expression of your soul. But for many of us, it's not like that. We are searching ourselves. We are students of life, and we're learning to be more honest, more creative, more kind, more compassionate, and more true. So this full moon is reminding us for deep introspection and reflection of this year. Like, how are we doing when it comes to that connection and greater awareness of the mask, the character we are wearing? And it's deeply connected to our relationships and especially our expression in relationships. Are we as honest as we can be, or are we hiding something behind because of certain fears? And often it's also because of certain traumas from the past, and we're afraid to open our hearts. And there's many ways we can deal with that, especially if we say that we are afraid to express our true self. Maybe a great thought would be if maybe people with whom we have relationships are not the right ones to open ourselves. So we feel afraid and scared to open our hearts to them. So a great intention, if that's the case for you, would be to say to the universe, please guide me to people to whom I can open my heart, with whom I will feel safe. Because nothing is more important than your emotional healing. Nothing is more important than that. Because if your wounds are not healed when it comes to emotions, it will be really, really hard to embody your authentic self. And that's why we start faking something. That's why we develop certain coping mechanisms that are not allowing us to be as honest as we can be, as true as we can be. And that is blocking most of the creative energy that is meant to move through us. And that creative energy is helping us to create beautiful things, beautiful outcomes in life, beautiful creations, beautiful paintings and music. You see, it's not just art, it's the whole life becomes art when we become more authentic and true. And it doesn't mean that you should be perfect, you should be like perfectly authentic, like this is who I truly am. As I mentioned, we're all students of life. And as we recognize that we don't need to be perfect, we just need to make sure that we are better than we were yesterday. And when I say better, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you are not already enough. But you will always discover something more about yourself. And that's what it means, self-improvement. You will always discover something new about yourself. And firstly, it feels uncomfortable. And usually we start blaming ourselves or we start self-sabotaging because we discover something unfamiliar that is often unpleasant, something painful, like a certain negative belief we have about us or a certain fear we have about us. But that discovery helps us to get a deeper understanding of why that idea or that story or that belief is present within us and what kind of emotions are connected to that belief, to that story. And once we recognize that connection between a thought or a belief and emotion, we'll understand our coping mechanism. For example, people pleasing is a great example of feeling not enough or feeling unworthy. So rather than acknowledging why we feel unworthy or why we feel that we are not enough, we are playing a character that's always trying to be there for somebody, which is a beautiful virtue, but if it's not honest, it feels kind of fake, right? And when we are faking something, it is draining our energy. So on the other side, when we are true, when we are real, the life force is moving through us and expressing it through us, itself through us. So when we're real and honest, it is charging us. So that's how we can know if you're honest and authentic in a relationship. Every relationship will feel fulfilling, recharging. After the conversation, you will feel recharged, not drained out. And that's what you can notice if you have a person in your life with whom you can be completely honest, true, authentic. Every time you end the conversation, you feel more enlightened, you feel lighter, you feel recharged. And that's something we need to recognize. For example, when it comes to the relationship with ourselves, and I'm talking about relationships a lot right now because it all starts with the relationship we have with ourselves. And it's so important because the way we know and understand ourselves is the way we also see life around us. If we think about us as we are unworthy, as there's something wrong with us, as we are victims of circumstances, every time we will look around us, we'll see nothing else but affirmations that will prove to us that story is real. The story we are saying to ourselves about ourselves is real. And when it comes to this full moon right now and the slow ending of this year, I would like to encourage you to look into the mirror of your soul and see where your soul is not happy about your life. You know, what are the parts of your life that you're not the most happiest right now? It sounds quite sad, but it's not really sad. It's actually great because, you know, when we recognize, well, I'm not really happy how I'm treating myself, it's a first step towards improvement, towards greater self-compassion. Or you may say, well, I'm not happy about how much I'm complaining in my life. And it's again a step towards self-improvement. Because, you know, there's something truly interesting about complaining. When you become more aware every time you complain, what kind of emotions you generate when you're complaining, you will recognize that every time you complain, you just feel even more of those emotions. That's how your complaints are charged. But if you say the same words as you're using when you're complaining, but you're using them compassionately towards yourself, like let's say that complaint would be, I'm such a bad person because I don't know how to talk more kindly to those people. And you would say in an angry way, like, I'm such a bad person, I never know what words to say. You would feel even worse. But when you're compassionately expressing it, like, well, am I a bad person because I don't know what words to use when I was talking with that person? Why I feel like that? You know, compassion sparks curiosity. And Gemini is all about curiosity. With curiosity, we are learning. Curiosity helps us to grow. And that's something truly important to know. Because when you become curious about certain pattern in your life, now you see it and now you question it. Now you're questioning how to change it, right? That's what programmers are doing. They're changing patterns. And you become a great programmer of your life. So, as neuroscientists are saying, for 95% of a day we are unconscious. We're doing things unconsciously. But then we use this 5% and we observe the program we are running most of the time. And we recognize tiny little spots that requires upgrade in relationships, upgrade in my communication skills, upgrade in my self-expression, upgrade in my emotional expression. Could I become more grateful? Could I become more kind? Could I become more empowered? Could I overcome more fear? Could I actually recognize when I feel afraid and what happens after I'm afraid? What kind of actions I embody when I'm afraid? Could I change that? Could I become more calm even when I'm afraid? And I would do the things even if I'm afraid of doing that. And so on. And then, you know what will happen after that? The separation between your true self and the mask you're wearing starts shortening. You start uniting these two different aspects of yourself until eventually they will become one. And that's where you become true self. So I'm not saying that I'm already a master of it, and many people who say that are still a work in progress, because we're all a work in progress. And the thing for that is that nobody was teaching us those things. So we're teaching ourselves how to become more true, more real, more authentic. And that's something that we truly need to remind ourselves, that we are a work in progress. And we are constantly learning to become more real and authentic. And actually, the other day I've read a quote that said, "See your history as an academy you can learn from versus a jail to stay chained in." And that's something that, you know, as I say to you, to use your past as field of lessons where you can recognize what could you work on in this future chapter that's opening up for you. What could you learn? And when you recognize, you know, that we went through so many stuff, heavy stuff, beautiful moments. We went through so much in this last 2 years. And it taught us so much about ourselves. When we look globally, we see how many things came out because of our emotional reactions. We look governments, we look all everything that's going on right now because of not being true and authentic, because we are lacking that awareness of the truth, the true self, and the expression of the truth of what we really feel. And we all know, for everyone who has experienced something mystical in meditation or something profound in meditation, will explain it same way. The truth always comes from love. The truth always comes from that compassionate energy that is uniting all of us. Which means that if we learn to be more truthful towards ourselves, more honest and open towards ourselves. We will learn to be more honest and open and vulnerable with people that are around us, that surrounds us, people that we love and care about. And when we start embodying more of that authenticity that we're slowly learning, because of the mirror neurons in the brain, people will start copying that, right? Like, well, I should stop facing my persona because it feels so fake. If that person is embodying his or her real character, the soul, the essence of the soul in her or his speech, in his art, at his job, standing up for his rights, speaking the truth, well, I can do that as well. And that's where the whole movement of self-empowerment starts happening. So how I'm feeling these days is that previous days I was questioning a lot my beliefs about myself, because we're always evolving. And I was asking myself, like, why I feel unworthy sometimes. Because when I was younger, I felt really unworthy. So I was often wearing a certain mask, like a persona, the way that I've just blended myself into society. Because it felt like nobody truly understands my vision, and it becomes a habit for many of us. So when I've started following my dreams, like everything I felt called to do, I've noticed that persona is slowly melting down. But every time I'm communicating, for example, with people from my past, that old neural patterns activates, and I become like my old self in those conversations. So it happened because I've started meeting many people from my past, and I've noticed, well, like every time I speak with them, firstly I experience like my old self would come again, would like awaken within me, and I would forget everything I've learned through life. But then I've noticed, well, that's the only way to overcome that, to go back into what's causing it and be better, like embody what you've learned. And that started happening to me. So I was writing down a lot, I was journaling a lot, all the thoughts that I was experiencing, all the emotions that awakened up, and then all the patterns that kind of happened almost automatically. Like every time I've started thinking about why I'm unworthy, and I've started judging myself, what kind of emotions I've experienced after that, and how I've started behaving, what was my body posture or my body language when it started happening. So I was able to observe, what kind of patterns this old self activates, because in the past I was not aware of that. So when I was able to observe that, I was able to catch myself, and I was able to say, well, that's my old self right now, let's get back to me. And that's what starts happening. So sometimes we think that we should immediately be perfect. Like now when you've learned so much and you maybe meet some people from your past, now you should be perfect. Now you should be like the best possible version of yourself, but it's not always like that. So it's a great time to truly reflect on your behaviors, like how much you've changed this year, how often you've fallen off that path of the truth or the true self, and what helped you to get back to you. Could you, because there's nothing wrong with complaining if we do it compassionately. That's where complaining becomes observation. We go from complaining to observing, and complaining awakens a lot of negativity in the body, but observation awakens a lot of awareness and compassion within us, which is a big change. So also that's one of the reasons why I'm sharing today with this message a painting, the dragon. You can see two pyramids, the lower and the upper, and inside of the upper is the rose. And for those of you who are already familiar with this painting, you already know the story. It's also on my Instagram page or in my Etsy shop, I Draw My Passion. You can find the whole story. But it's my story. I want you to find your own inside of it. Because, you know, each painting speaks a unique story to a unique observer. So when it comes to this full moon, I want to remind you to reflect on your communication style with yourself and others. Like, can you deepen it maybe? Or could you become more aware of certain unconscious patterns and recognize where you may be close-minded? You know, where it happens that you start defending yourself. Because that's where something unconscious starts coming up, like something unpleasant, and you start defending. And the question is, what are you defending? What are you defending? And that's what needs some deep introspection. What are you defending? Because the answer to that question will free you. And that's something truly, truly powerful. It's time to let go. It's time to manifest the best possible life. And it's time to believe into you, my friends. Remember that doesn't matter how many ups and downs happened for you this year, you're moving in an upward spiral. And it's time to manifest the best possible life. So write in the comment section that you are ready to experience the best possible life. Whatever stands between you and your inner peace, may it disappear. Let go of anything that is blocking you from being in peace with yourself. And sometimes a simple intention is enough to do the job, to do the work done. So, my friends, I also want to remind you, we have a new fresh sale in our Etsy shop for all the prints of my art, 10 off. And we've launched some new stickers, like this one, I Attract Luck, truly cute. And then we have this one, I'm Transcending, fresh one. And then this one, I Attract Miracles into my life. So those are the latest paintings, fresh from this year, as I'm reflecting how well this year went with my art. I was really creative and productive, I can say. And I'm really grateful for everything that we together with the community here went through the growth and through everything, all the love and sometimes negativity as well, all the growth that happened on that process. I'm grateful for that. So my friends, I love you all. You can find the stickers, and there's actually a bundle where you can get all three together in the Etsy shop, I Draw My Passion. So go there and check it out. And I'm sending you lots of love, blessings, and power. Have a beautiful celebration of this important cycle or change of the cycle, entrance into a new chapter. Until next time, one love.